Welcome to Leadership Messengers podcast. I am your host, Vaaquez. Born and raised in Guatemala with no electricity, now bringing you experts to help you develop our next generation of values-driven leaders.
Leadership is caught more than it is taught, and people do what people see. So the message would be, as leaders, as educators, as influencers, again, never underestimate the power that we have, because it's in the day-to-day activities that we do where we have the most impact. They're craving the validation. And I think when we take time just to listen to people, understand people, it has a tremendous impact and influence. And also just to help people navigate through life and be that mentor. The educators on this call, you, me, Ovi, we all have different mentorship roles, but that is such a gift that we can give people to share what we know, to show people what we know, to give people opportunities, and just to have that influence on others, because that is what really makes a difference in the lives of other people.
Welcome, everyone, once again to Leadership Messengers podcast, where we bring you experts helping you in our mission to help you develop our next generation of values-centered leaders. And today's guest is a rather special individual because we've known each other for some time now. He has had me as a guest in his club as he is the president. And but I'll read briefly Eric's bio so that way you can get to know him a little bit. And then we're going to reverse engineer his journey to success and impact so that you take these insights, frameworks, strategies, and inspiration that he will share with you. So please grab a pen and paper. Let's get started. Eric Feinendegen. Eric, help me out with your last name once again.
Sure, it's Feinendegen.
Feinendegen. I tell you, everyone, has it ever happened to you that you mess people's last name? I apologize on this one, but Eric is a special individual, so he even helped me out. He is an award-winning and internationally recognized speaker, trainer, and executive coach. The man is the man. He's a two-time, not once, but two times finalist in the World Championship of Public Speaking, a TEDx speaker, an Ignite speaker, professional MC, and certified coach, speaker, trainer with the John C. Maxwell Leadership Team. So he's certified with the John C. Maxwell Leadership Team, everyone. As a president and founder of Inspire to Empower LLC, his company, Eric has worked with clients ranging from solopreneurs like myself, maybe you are a solopreneur too, to Fortune 100 companies. His area of expertise focuses on effective communication, leadership, and financial wellness. He is also the author of the best-selling book, The Finer Things. I believe it's like a play on words from his last name too, The Finer Things, but The Finer Things, and he'll tell us a little bit about it. A 52-week guide to living an inspired life. And I tell you, everyone, his biggest claim to fame, however, is trying stand-up comedy once and living to tell about it. He lives in Gurnee, Illinois, with his wonderful wife, his 3 children, and a Boston Terrier named Mocha. Let's welcome Eric. Hi, Eric. How are you today?
Ovi, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And yes, The Finer Things is definitely a play on my last name. I figured if I'm going to grow up with this difficult last name, I might as well put it to good use. But thank you so much for having me.
And I love that. One of the things that I really admire from you is that you have a very optimistic outlook in life, and your energy shows through, because we've only met virtually, and you are rather an individual that the charisma just comes through. And I hope everyone that's watching this video on Spotify and on YouTube, they get to see that as well. But let's get started. As everyone has seen the format for this interview, we have some preset questions, and then we'll go off of whatever essence and insight Eric will share with us. Eric, who are you now, and who do you currently serve?
Sure. I'll love to answer that. Before I do that, Ovi, I just want to Thank you. In the spirit of the holiday coming here in a couple of days, Thanksgiving, I'm grateful for you for this opportunity and for your audience to be able to share with the educators and the administrators and all the people that are teaching and building our future leaders. So thank you so much. But yes, my name is Eric Feinendegen. As mentioned in the introduction, I actually have two careers. So one in financial planning, and I focus on financial wellness and working with the person next door, helping them with their retirement, any type of insurance needs, that kind of thing. I've been doing that for 21 years. And my other career is in professional speaking and training. Also been doing that for 21 years. And the people I serve in that role is small business owners, entrepreneurs, and corporations. But here's the neat thing, Ovi, and I'm sure your listeners will appreciate this. Recently, I've been getting more and more into the educational world. I had the opportunity to present for 6 years at Lake Forest Graduate School of Management, where I talked about effective communication strategies. But also, one of my favorite opportunities was I gave a keynote address to the University Center of Lake County. They were doing a recruiting fair for prospective college students, and just seeing all the future leaders with the bright eyes and people wanting to, develop their education was a wonderful thing. So
That's fantastic.
yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, with your wealth of knowledge and expertise within your background, as you know, we're looking for your inspiration, like what made an impact in your life, who made an impact, and hopefully along those lessons, we'll catch some methods that some others have used to impact you, and maybe methods that you have learned and now share with others. So, could you try to give us like an overview? How did you grow up? And how did you end up here so far?
Sure. Great questions. Well, I ended up in the financial planning world in a very unique journey. So I'm one of four. My mother was the sole income earner in our family, and she was a nurse. We went to private schooling. So as you can imagine, we did not have a lot of money. And she made a very modest wage. In watching her struggle and make ends meet over and over again, it really had an impact on me. And it lit a fire in me, and I wanted to understand and learn the laws of money, because I didn't want to grow up in a situation that my mother did. I wanted to have money work for me just as how I would work for my money. And that led me to financial literacy in the financial planning world. Now, when you look at the professional speaking, I mean, the impact I had as a child was immense. So my father had a mental illness, was diagnosed as paranoid schizophrenic, and Ovi, I did not have a very strong male role model. So I kept searching and searching through my formative years for that leader, for that person that would kind of guide me and show me how to overcome life's challenges and lead me on the path to success. And what happened was I turned to, and you'll appreciate this, the leaders of the personal development industry, the Zig Ziglars, the Jim Rohns, the Tony Robbins, those type of people. And it was their strategies and their optimism and the hope that they delivered that really had an impact on me. And because it changed my life, I embraced that, and I wanted to help change the lives of others as well. So I do not underestimate the power that the educators that are on this show, that are listening to this show, have on not only current generations, but previous generations and future.
Amazing, amazing. So when you were in your developmental stages from a young individual to maybe a younger adult, was there ever a particular educator, teacher, or a neighbor, or a mentor, or a coach, or maybe when you got your first job, that you met maybe a lead or a manager that they would, did they even, how did they connect with you? How do you think someone that is developing the new generations of leaders can connect with someone so that then they can teach them something new?
Absolutely. There is an individual that stands out. I'll get to that person in a moment, but I'd like to address, what I feel people can do to really make an impact on others. and that's to understand people. What I think the big miss with leadership and influencers today is they lead by assumption. And that's a trap that I fall into at times, and I have to catch myself. We think we know what other people want. We look at the world, not as how they are, but as we are. And we have to catch ourselves and say, well, my wants and needs may be different than yours, Ovi, or the people listening to the show. So we have to really catch ourselves to say, okay, wait a second. Right? Am I putting myself first or the people that I'm serving first? And I think that's a big that's a big law that we need to follow. But the other thing just comes down to how we treat others, and that we always have to value other people. I like to say, when you meet somebody, you put a 10 on their forehead, right, and treat them as such. So we want to value people, but I think the next step, and this is where the true impact comes in, is we want to show people how they can realize their value. And we can do that through a number of different ways. And the biggest way is to raise people's self-esteem. And I'm sure, the people listening will probably relate to this. There was, I don't know who gave the quote, but they said that self-esteem is a bigger determinant on people's success over even IQ. And that's why, great, we have to develop that esteem. We have to encourage others. Encouragement to me is oxygen for the soul. We have to focus on people's strengths rather than their weaknesses. And, when people fall down, reach out our hand and raise them up. And I want to just very quickly give a shout out to a person that did that for me. And that was one of my teachers when I was in high school. His name was Coach K. I'll never forget, it was my sophomore year. My parents had just gone through a divorce, and it affected me greatly. It was my formative years. I was already kind of dealing with, the sickness that my dad had, his mental illness. And when they got divorced, it affected my grades, it affected my focus. But Coach K stepped in, and Ovi, he told me something that I'll never forget, and is one of the reasons why I'm on this show today and why, I've had some success in my life, which he said, Eric, you can do anything. And because I believe in Coach K so much, I started to believe in myself. And he was there to nurture me, listen to me, and raise me up. And, I owe him an entire debt of gratitude because of what he did. And that had a ripple effect. And it's the same effect that the educators have and that you have, Ovi, every time you take the stage on the people in your audience. So it's a wonderful thing.
It sure is. And now you are building that ripple effect through doing this, right? And I appreciate you taking the time of your from your busy schedule. You shared briefly about you see somebody, treat them like they're a 10. And I love that simplistic yet effective way to kind of like treat people. And you also mentioned it's important to build people's self-esteem. Are there some particular ways, Eric, that you think someone could potentially help somebody else maybe build a little bit better self-esteem?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest ways is to focus on people's strengths rather than trying to improve their weaknesses. Now, I'm not saying we should ignore weaknesses, but I think the fastest way to build people, build morale is to have some small wins. And when you focus on what people are already good at and developing that, then you get the small wins. Then you start building momentum. And, I personally think momentum in life is one of the greatest things that we can have because it builds, one success builds on another success on another success. So I think focusing on strengths is a great one. And the other thing is placing people in opportunities where they can succeed. Introducing them to people that are going to mentor them, that are going to show them and teach them what they already know. It's interesting, a study was done of Fortune 500 CEOs, and Ovi, this blew my mind. 85% of Fortune 500 CEOs said that they got to that level because they had a mentor or a coach, someone that went before them to show them the way. And when it comes to leadership and influence, it's people do what people see. So when we put people in an environment where they can see success, they can see how to communicate, they can see how to lead others, that's when they embrace it, that's when they internalize it, and that's when they can use those strategies in their own life to succeed.
I'm speechless because this is so true. So your book is titled The Finer Things in Life, correct?
The Finer Things, yeah. A 52-week
Finer
guide.
Things.
Yep, Finer
52
Things,
weeks.
play on my name.
Yes.
A 52-week guide to living an inspired life.
I love it. I would love for you, if you could, because you mentioned earlier that self-esteem plays a probably bigger role than IQ in a person becoming successful. And now that you even coach others, not only in leadership but also in finances and things like that, if a leader that works with young adults, or even incorporate when they have Gen Z already joined the workforce, even even Generation Alpha is already joining the workforce. Like Google hired this 14-year-old kid at like a staggering 200 something $1,000 salary. Eric, from your book or from your expertise, what do you think are some of the lessons that someone needs to keep in mind when they're working with these young people so they don't lose their money, they don't go crazy, they are wiser with what they're earning now?
Great question. It comes down to this one statement, and I'm going to give credit to John Maxwell for this, when he says that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that is a mantra that I like to live my life by, because people know when you believe in them. People know when you care about them. And I'll prove it to you. When I do trainings from stage and I talk about this, Obi, I'll ask people. I'll say, okay, great. Who can name the last 5 Academy Award winners? Who can name the last 5 MVP Super Bowl, winners? And maybe they can name 1 or 2. The last 5, Miss Universe pageant, I don't know. But if I were to ask you, can you name a person in your life who helped you through a difficult time? Easy. Can you name a friend who was there for you when you were struggling with a situation? Easy. Can you name a coach or a boss who invested in you, who believed in you, who gave you an opportunity to help you be who you are today? Easily. And that goes back to that mantra, because people are going to remember more the people who are leaders over the lessons. It is the people. See, people relate to people, and we connect heart to heart, Obi. So the strategy I would say is, share vulnerabilities, share struggles so people can relate, but then offer how you were able to overcome those struggles. And one more thing I want to add is, we're living in a time in history where our current generation has less self-esteem than all previous generations, and which is unfortunate, because we're also living in a generation where we're considered the most connected, via social media and the internet, but at the same time, we're more disconnected. And it's a vicious cycle, because that leads to loneliness. And we have a loneliness epidemic, in all generations, whether it's the seniors, people our age, the younger generation. And the more lonely people become, the more they go online. And then the more they go online, the lonelier they become. So it's this fierce circle. That's why caring about others, investing in others, and believing in others is so critical to raising our next generation of leaders and building that self-esteem.
Yes, no, well, that is true. As they say, technology connected us with many people and disconnected us from those closest to us, as they say. Eric, based on your educational background and where you grew up and every other professional training that you have been part of and you have also designed and delivered, are there some specific tools or strategies that you think some people could leverage so they become better leaders?
Yes, I do. And this goes back to a rule that was taught to me by my mother growing up. When I wanted to hang out with the kid, the kid who was always getting in trouble in the neighborhood down the block, right? He was stealing candy bars from the store, setting stuff on fire. I say, hey, Mom, can I hang out with Joe? No, you cannot. And she taught me that we become like those we associate with. And that is the biggest educational tool that I carry with me. Jim Rohn says that you're the average of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. And if I was talking to, someone younger, going through their educational journey, I would challenge them and say, great, take a close look at your friends. What books are you reading? What information online are you absorbing? What social media content, right, are you watching and absorbing? Because it is so critical that we put ourselves in environments that are going to elevate us, rather than take us down. So I guess the biggest thing, I don't have a specific educational curriculum that I could say was really transformational. Well, it was the people that I was able to get around as a child, adolescence, even right now in my career. Ovi, we were talking about this, before we went live. I said, Ovi, I'm watching you, right? Ovi, people like, hey, who do you want to be when you grow up? Ovi Vaaquez. That's who I want to be. You're out there. Listen, you are making such an impact on the lives of our youth, of current leaders, other people. You're willing to share what you know. You had mentioned you came, to Midwest Speaking Professionals, where I'm a charter member and founder of that group. And Ovi, you came in, I'm telling you, just the wealth of knowledge that you shared. I mean, that was 6 months ago. I'm still getting people emailing me and calling me and say, hey, what Ovi shared was amazing. We want more Ovi. And that's the name of the game, right? Hanging around people like you, hanging around people that are listening to this call right now. The leaders, the educators, the people who are going to elevate us. That is what I think can have the most profound impact on people.
Yes, with the, well, thank you for the flowers, and you are so kind. Um, Eric, I clearly remember. I mean, you're such a person that I admire, particularly because you contacted me not too long ago when you said, "Ovi, do you have any advice? I'm about to speak to a crowd that I may not look like, and they may not look like me, but I want to make sure I serve them, and I connect with them." I would love to understand your mindset so that our listeners who may be having an audience of diverse individuals in their K through 12 classroom or a college level classroom, or even their new generation of a workforce and they're diverse. What is your approach, or what was your mindset when you said, you know what, I really want to connect with these people, because you were about service? So this answer, I hope that it inspires someone that may think that they won't be able to connect with those in front of them.
Sure. And I want to thank you again for giving me your time and your expertise, because that was the keynote I gave to the University Center of Lake County. And Ovi, it turned out better than I ever imagined. And a lot of that was some of the feedback and advice that you gave me. So thank you. You influenced me, and I was able to influence these students. But what I would say is how to connect is, just look for common ground. The audience I was talking to, they didn't look like me, different demographic. And, one of the reasons why I was talking to you, there was a language barrier, but I did look for the common ground. And that common ground was we all struggle in life. We all have challenges. We all have obstacles. And what I was able to do was, share some of the challenges that I had, some of the struggles, growing up poor and searching for that role model, which a lot of people in the audience fell in the exact same category. And we connected on that. But here's where else we connected. That's through a vision. Because, I was able to, again, have opportunities, get around the right people, to change my lifestyle, to change, my family's future. And when you paint a vision of a better tomorrow for kids, even for adults, that can create a spark. Because what we're doing, and this is where I was able to connect, Ovi, is we're sharing hope. And I think, with these educators and teachers, when they can paint a better tomorrow than where people are, then you're delivering that hope. And it lights a spark in people. And they say, yes, there is more out there for me. Because people know in their hearts that they're meant for more. That's why whatever it is, but that's why we're placed on this earth, to expand, to grow, to realize our potential. And it comes down to just showing people, hey, there is a brighter future out there for you. And that brighter future is through education. And that was my message. And, I saw people, they had, light in their eyes, and they went and they enrolled. They said, okay, great. I want to embrace education because
I'm
I want a
taking
better
notes.
future for myself. So it was a wonderful moment for me and for the people in the audience. And again, I thank you, Ovi.
No, no. Well, yeah. Thank you for reaching out and giving me the opportunity to at least share what I think could potentially work.
I will
And
say
you,
this, Ovi. You did share with me, some phrases that in Spanish that I could use. I practice them, but I didn't have
didn't
the
come up.
I didn't have the guts to use them. I said, no, I got the connection. I don't want to ruin the connection by
No,
mispronouncing something.
makes sense.
Maybe next time. Maybe next time I'll speak Spanish, Ovi.
If you would have mispronounced it, I tell you, people would have laughed a little bit, but respected the fact that you tried. So that was,
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
if it doesn't work next time you do try it, they'll respect it.
I'll
I can
try it next
guarantee you
time for
that.
sure.
Um, Eric, now we are grown individuals now. We are grown professionals now. But did you, like, growing up? I know you didn't have it easy, right? I mean, I didn't have a father. You had your father with health challenges. Did you ever imagine you were gonna come this far? What surprised you the most about your life's journey?
Sure, sure. Great question. Uh, I'll keep this as short as I can. There's aspects where I thought, okay, yes, this is where I was going to be. Growing up, I was fascinated by numbers. I wanted to be the CFO of a Fortune 500 company. Now, it did not happen, but I did stay in the finance world. And now, I have a very successful career in the financial services industry. So I feel like I've kind of, met my expectation there. Here's where it has blown my mind, Ovi, that, I am a professional speaker, trainer, professional MC. Because growing up, I was an introvert. And
Mm,
I was never really taught the laws of communication. And what has really surprised me is the power of a personal story. That was not taught to me in high school. That was not taught to me in college. That was taught to me after I graduated, getting involved with Toastmasters and, focusing on the craft of communication and speaking. And Ovi, I know when you take the stage and you share your story, it connects with people and it transforms people. And I know when I share my story, it does the same thing. And for the people that are listening right now, I'm going to encourage you to continue to tell your story, because stories is that's how we connect. That's how we move people. And it's the oldest form of communication that we have. And stories just have a way of deepening the logical and the emotional connection and moving people toward action. So that is the biggest surprise. When I started learning storytelling and how it can really just move people, I was blown away. So that's my new obsession, Ovi. Just how can I be the best storyteller I can be? And that would be my advice to everybody. Be a great storyteller, share it as often as you can, and encourage others to tell their story.
yes, absolutely. Um, so uh, I was going to ask what was your message for the leaders that are developing our next generation of leaders. I feel like with this answer, you gave us the answer to that. But is there like a more specific maybe message that you would also like to say? Look, if there's one thing you can't, if there's one thing you got to remember about this whole interview is this. What is your message to the educators and leaders developing our next generation of leaders today?
Yeah, the message would be this: never underestimate the impact and the influence that you have of the people that you're serving. I think a lot of people discredit what they can do in terms of developing people's self-esteem and growing others. And, people are watching us all the time, Ovi. Leadership is caught more than it is taught, and people do what people see. So the message would be, as leaders, as educators, as influencers, again, never underestimate the power that we have, because it's in the day-to-day activities that we do where we have the most impact. Meaning, it's the act of listening. Just taking a step back, because in today's world, people are craving to be listened to. They are craving the validation. And I think when we take time just to listen to people, understand people, it has a tremendous impact and influence. And also just to help people navigate through life and be that mentor. And, the educators on this call, you, me, Ovi, we all have different mentorship roles, but that is such a gift that we can give people to share what we know, to show people what we know, to give people opportunities, and just to have that influence on others, because that is what really makes a difference in the lives of other people. It really does.
Yes, it really does. Eric, what is your why today? What matters to you most today?
Well, my why is this. So I'm a father of I've 3 kids, 2 teenagers. So I have a soon-to-be 18-year-old, a soon-to-be 16-year-old, and I have a 12-year-old. So the why is, I want to be the best father and husband. That I've been married 20 years. I want to be the best father and husband I can be, but also to be the best example that I can be. Kids and everyone today, they're craving quality, good leaders. I think we have a leadership crisis in society. I think we have a values crisis. And it actually makes me sad, Ovi, that there's such a lack of good leaders that, these kids, they don't have to emulate. So that's why you, me, the educators on this call, we can step forward, be that example, be that light for people. That is my why. It's moving from, trying to be successful to be significant in the lives of others, without question.
That's fantastic. I believe Tony Robbins says that some people are extremely rich, but they don't have significance, right?
Correct. And that's what
So
it's
that,
about.
well, no, I appreciate your kind answer. This is the last question I'm gonna ask you before we jump into the rapid fire questions. All right,
Sure.
Eric, please share with us, where can people find you? Where can people find your book? Where can people find and support your mission?
Ovi, I never thought you'd ask that question.
Never thought.
Right. Once again, I want to thank you for having me. They can find me at www.inspiretoempower.net. That's TO, so inspiretoempower.net. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. My book is available on Amazon, and it is an Amazon best-selling book, The Finer Things, FEIN-ER. And yeah, would love to connect with as many people as possible, after this call, and just continue this momentum of positive influence in the lives of other people.
Thank you, Eric. And we're going to make sure to add those links into the description in every platform. So
Thank
we'll
you.
make it easy for our listeners. Eric, are you ready for our rapid fire questions?
Let's go.
And
I'm in
give
the
us your-
hot seat, Ovi.
Let's do it. Hot seat and timing starts now.
All right.
What's an accomplishment you're super proud of?
All right. The biggest one is, trying stand-up comedy and living to tell about it. That is my biggest accomplishment.
Fantastic. Are there 1, 2, 3 books that you believe every leader should at least check out once in their life?
Absolutely. And people may have checked these out, but I'll repeat them here. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Anything John Maxwell on leadership. I mean, the man is an absolute treasure. And How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And of course, The Finer Things as well.
And of course, The Finer Things. As you know, AI, artificial intelligence, is now integrated within our lives. Is there a favorite tool that you love to use most from AI?
Well, I will admit I'm a little bit behind on my AI game. So I use probably the most popular one, which is, of course, Chat GPT. And what it does is it allows me to just get more time in my life. And I know for a lot of people. So I need to learn others, but I'm going to go Chat GPT.
Fantastic. Earlier in our interview, you shared that most successful people, they have had some type of mentor to help them get there. If somebody needed a mentor, to find a mentor, where could they possibly go find one today?
Well, I would say go into your local community, the people in the universities, in the colleges, in the schools. What I think the mistake that a lot of people make, Ovi, is they look too far beyond the horizon. There are so many great leaders and mentors right in our own community that are more than willing to help people. So look in the community. There's a lot of online organizations that people can tap into, but the educators, the teachers, the counselors, that is a great first step in order to find a quality mentor.
I love it. What free educational resources you know of and you think more people should know about?
All right, I'm going to give credit to my wife on this one. She introduced me just recently to an app. It's called Calm, C-A-L-M. And, it's a free download. There is a subscription if you want to get, the higher end platform. But what it does, Ovi, is it reduces anxiety. It gives you meditation techniques, allows for better sleep. So I'm going to say Calm would be great. I just became aware of it, but so far I love it, and I would say that would be the free resource.
I love it. I've used it too.
Okay.
What is one life-changing hack you would make sure you teach someone you deeply cared about?
This answer may surprise you, coming from a professional speaker, but the biggest hack would be this: active listening. People will not hear unless they've first been heard. Real quick story, Ovi, we'll make this quick. My teenage daughter and I, we weren't getting along, as you can imagine. As a 52-year-old man sees the world differently than a 17-year-old, right? So trying to tell her what to do wasn't working for me. So what I did was I invited her and said, hey, once a week, let's have dinner and let's just talk. Let's just have conversations. And when I stopped trying to tell her things and starting just to take in things, everything shifted. Our relationship has never been better. She feels heard. I now am connected to her on a totally different level. So I would say the biggest life hack is just take a step back, listen to others, and watch your relationships change.
Amazing. I'm going to keep that in mind for my daughter, who is now 7. Awesome. And I've got 3 kids like yourself also. Eric, could you share with us 1 to maybe 3 songs that make you come alive?
Boy, now this is tough because there's a lot of songs. All right.
Too many.
Love some Tina Turner, Simply the Best, AC/DC, Thunderstruck, and of course, the anthem of all anthems, Eye of the Tiger. Eye of the Tiger. Anytime you want to get pumped up, throw that on. It'll change your whole mood. Walk through a wall, or you can run through a wall. Love
Run
those.
through a wall, indeed. or like run through the fire coals like Tony
Yes,
Robbins.
yeah, you can walk
Amazing.
over the hot coals.
Last rapid fire question for
Yes.
you, Eric. What's your favorite snack?
All right. Well, you put popcorn in front of me with some of that butter. Kryptonite. I cannot say no. So love, love, love popcorn, the movie style, without question. Absolutely.
Amazing. Love it too. Eric, thank you so much for your authenticity and how genuine you are with this, especially with your energy comes through. It shows a very charismatic individual. Your enthusiasm is truly, as Zig Ziglar would say, contagious. Are there any last thoughts you would like to share with our listeners before we close this off?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you once again for the opportunity and for your listening audience. The thoughts would be this, that leadership is influence, influence is leadership. When we focus on valuing others, mentoring them, and pouring ourselves in the lives of others, great things are going to happen. And it can solve a lot of the problems that we're seeing in the world today. And I want to thank all of our educators and thank you, Ovi, for what you do.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. And everyone listening, remember, the lessons may have been for educators specifically, or it may have been specifically for leaders in corporate, but you can use them in your own field, in your everyday work. This has been our Eric. Help me with your last name once again, because I want everyone to learn it just like I need to learn it.
You bet. Feinendegen.
Feinendegen. I think I got it. Eric Feinendegen. It's been a pleasure. Everyone, stay tuned. See you on the next episode where we bring you leaders to help you develop our next generation of values-driven leaders. Take care, everyone. Goodbye for now. Thank you for being part of our community. Who is a leader you believe should be interviewed in our podcast? We would love to hear your thoughts about it and interviewing the leaders that you admired most. See you on our next episode.